Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast, your safe haven for self-discovery, growth, and transformation. I'm Barbara Thompson, your host. I'm a therapist and the founder of Self-Care Studio. Whether you're joining me from my private counselling sessions, my courses, or right here on this podcast, I'm dedicated to helping you reconnect with yourself and live life authentically. This podcast is your reminder to pause, reflect, and reclaim your power. Together we'll explore the messy, beautiful journey of life, from letting go of people-pleasing and overthinking to embracing your worth and stepping boldly into your true self. Here, you're not just a listener, you're part of a community that values self-trust, self-love, and living life on your terms. So whether you're navigating challenges, seeking clarity, or simply craving a dose of inspiration, you've come to the right place. Thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with me. Let's dive into today's episode and continue this journey together. Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Studio Chat podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Thompson, and today's episode is one that truly aligns with everything we talk about here. Our nervous system care, emotional release, our mind-body connection, and gut health, and even going to the toilet. You know, I like talking about poos all the time. I'm just that person. And today's episode 140. It's all about trusting our gut and the power of colon hydrotherapy, which sounds pretty fancy. I think some of us don't even know what that is. So I'm really lucky to have a local on my podcast today from Wollongong. And I'm joined by Alicia from Vitality Flow Colonics in Wollongong. She is the founder. And what I love about this, it's a space that's heart-led, holistic colon hydrotherapy. And when we were messaging back and forth on an email before I booked her in for this podcast, you know, I liked that she said it's not just about taking a good shit. And I love the honesty, and that alone made me say yes to this conversation. I was like, she's the woman that I want to have on my podcast. And today we're going to explore how tuning into our gut physically and emotionally can support our nervous system regulation, help us let go in every sense, and reconnect with our bodies, our self-trust. And as every day in my practice, I'm someone that helps people reconnect with themselves, and every day this chat is so aligned with what I do. And I know nothing about this topic, so I haven't researched, as you know, if you've been and listened to my podcast. I do that for a reason. Most hosts do the opposite. They research and find out everything about the guest. But I want to sit here with Alicia and find out everything about her and her business in real time like you are. I'm going to ask silly questions. I've never had a colonic before. I don't really know much about it. All I know is something gets stuck up your bum in simple terms, but I have so many questions about that, and I won't hold back, so do not worry. So I want to welcome Alicia to the Studio Chat podcast. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It is really nice to have you here on something that I don't know anything about. So I'm genuinely really excited to learn more about you, about your business, because you are local here in Wollongong.
Thanks.
And it's definitely really aligned with what I do as a person, but as a practitioner as well.
Amazing. Super excited to have this conversation and answer all of your questions. We can go everywhere.
We can go and we're going to.
We're going to, yeah.
I'm not afraid of poo. I like it.
Excellent.
That sounds really sick, but people that know me know. I'm the person that still finds farts funny. I love hanging out with my clients, especially, you know, the young ones that always talk about poos and farts, and they play funny noises, and I'm like laughing with them, you know, and they're like,
if you don't laugh at farts, there's like, you need to reevaluate. That's, yeah.
Yeah. I was actually I went to a barbecue on Easter Sunday with some family and friends here, and we somehow grown men, we're all standing around the barbecue. Well, I'm not a grown man, obviously, but I was standing around the barbecue, and somehow we got talking about farts. I don't know how it happened. And the girls in the kitchen were like, Barbara. And I was like, oh, it's so funny. Yeah. So isn't it funny? I'm just sharing with you real time. A couple of days ago, at a barbecue, I was talking about farts. So there we go.
Look, no good barbecue is complete without a good shit story or a fart story or, you know, whatever it might be.
Okay. You're so my person. Where did this all start for you? Like, how did you what led you to start your business?
So what led me in, we'll start with what led me into colonics, I suppose, because that's a good place to start. And it was just my own health journey. I was living in the UK at the time, so separated from family, friends, all those sorts of things. And I just started to take a deep dive into, I started with the physical health, and was having a lot of issues with adult acne at the time. I was probably in my mid-20s, and it really sent me on this deep dive into, okay, how can I do this? What's going on internally? And that was quite the process. I did a lot of different, tried a lot of different modalities, from acupuncture to just, you name it, I tried it. And then someone mentioned a colonic, and I was like, well, why not? Let's do this. I've tried everything else. Let's go put a hose up my butt. And at the time, I had no idea that it was going to be so much more than a hose up my butt. So I went and had my first colonic, and it was not the best experience. It was quite uncomfortable. My body reacted really strongly, like physically reacted really strongly. It was quite painful and uncomfortable. And I left that thinking, ooh, okay, why did I respond that way? Turned out that I was physically more constipated than I thought I was. But then I went and had a couple of more treatments after that. I went back because I was like, there's something here. And it was within that second treatment that the power of colon hydrotherapy was presented to me. So in that session, my body let go of the resistance that it was holding on to in the last one and completely opened. And when I say open, I mean shit flooding out of my body, propelling out of my body, but without resistance. And as that happened, I still to this day don't really have, I guess, the answers as to what happened, but something unlocked in my body, something shifted, something let go, something left me. And I walked away from that session profoundly changed and wanting to know more about why. Why did this releasing, surrendering to my physical body unlock whatever it did? You know, like I really don't have the words for it. And you would think I would nearly 20 years later, but with all of the reflection I've done on it, the only way I can really describe it is that just something left. My body let go of something that did not need to be with me anymore. And I walked out of that session somewhat a different person.
Yeah. Was there any pain involved in that second session?
No, none. It was
Emotional
gentle.
for you?
Later, a little bit, there was this kind of like, okay, well, this feeling, it was kind of something has left, and now what? You know, that sort of, what do I do now with this space that I'm finding myself sitting in? And that was tricky to navigate. I went back and had another colonic, and that helped. But then it led me down the path of learning more about the way we store things in our body and emotional regulation and nervous system regulation. And yeah, that set me on the path. But that was the moment that I knew that I wanted to do formal training and learn what to do. And you know, when you learn something new and you get really excited, I was like, everybody in the world needs to have a colonic. I need to give a colonic to everyone I can. So that's what I did. I went and learned how to do colonics. And then I guess if we flash forward to 3 years ago when I opened Vitality Flow Colonics. That was after working in the industry for 15 years. I'd worked in multiple different clinics and sort of went along with the way that those clinics were run and managed according to the person who owned them, which is fine. But I knew that there was something else that I wanted to offer, and it was that additional piece of the puzzle. It was that the slowness, the safety, the regulation, offering people more than an opportunity to just let go of waste. And I knew the only way for me to truly be able to do that, the way that I wanted to do it, was to create my own space and then call in the people that I know needed to be in that space. Yeah.
So those about 15 years, was it, that you worked for someone else? Or
Yeah.
you would have, I imagine, seen all sorts of things, experiences, heard people's stories. You would have, with your own personal experience, I think the reason why you felt that massive shift was that's your calling. You know how some people say, oh, I got a calling, or I just knew, similar things happened to me, and why I'm a therapist now. It's kind of like, now you look back and go, oh, this was my thing. But I think in that moment when you had that opening and that shift, huh? What is this?
Yeah, it certainly felt that way. And I did spend a lot of years trying to logic it,
Yeah.
like there has to be one single answer as to what happened that day on the table,
Yeah.
but there just isn't.
Yeah. I think it made you feel that way for you to know how good it feels to be able to pass we're all messengers to help other people with it. So I really believe that it had that high impact on you. Again, what a great place to come from. You have been on the other side of it. You have been a customer or a client or someone that has like, I have no idea what this is going to feel like. I'm probably a bit apprehensive. Most of the time, some of us do, some of us don't, but sometimes nothing ever goes up that end unless it's something like this. And each to their own, but there's a lot of fears. There'd be a lot of questions. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I think because the beauty about it is you're obviously with your training and then your years of experience of working with other people, okay, that doesn't work, that aligns with me, that doesn't. And now you've brought everything into this business that you have now. So it's such a beautiful place where this has taken you.
Yeah, thank you for that reflection.
No, yeah, it's really nice. And it's really nice that you're not someone that is, this is the best thing. And I mean, it sounds like it's an amazing thing, but you're not saying that everyone has to have one, and because not everything is for everybody. And
Absolutely not.
we're all so different, and we're all at different stages in life. So you may meet someone now, and someone listening to this podcast is here for they might be curious like me, or I want to know, and they might listen to the podcast and be like, oh, no way, I could never do that. But you know what? Maybe in 5 years' time, they might look you up because something's happened in their life. They're like, I might try that. So we can never say never, can we?
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, Barbara, because so many people, when they come in for their first colonic, they will say to me, I've been thinking about doing this for years, and I've finally decided I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not something that people rush into, and great, nor should they. I don't think we should rush into anything. If you're not coming through that door completely aligned and feeling good about your choice to be there, then you probably shouldn't be there.
I just got a scream of goosebumps when you said that, because on the other end, people say to me the exact same thing. I've either been to many people before and like, oh, Barbara, you're my last one, I'm going to give it one last go. Or I hear people say, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And then when they come in, they're like, oh, I wish I'd seen you sooner. It's like, we're just not really. And I think that's a reflection on both of our businesses. We're so different what we do. But that whole, oh, I've been thinking about it for ages is something I hear every day. It's something that people hear. Of course. Yeah. So where am I going to start? I think let's start with the basics, and then I'm going to put my 2 cents in and what I'm thinking about it. But first of all, what actually is it? We walk into the room obviously, you know, we feel safe and all that kind of stuff, but the logistics of you lie on the bed and then you get a tube up your bum. Is that kind of, if I really...
In a nutshell. But if we want to talk, just the nitty-gritty. So once like you said, we've gone through consultation, all of those sorts of things. But when you come in, the actual nuts and bolts of the colonic is you are laying down on our treatment table. The client is undressed from the waist down, including their underwear. Socks are personal preference.
It's interesting.
That's up to the individual. They're covered with a towel at all times throughout the treatment. For us to insert the speculum, which is what is the little piece that goes into the person's rectum, we call that the speculum. The client lies on their side. They're laying on their left side with their knees slightly tucked so that they're in the correct anatomical position for the insertion of the speculum to be safe and comfortable. We pop the speculum into the person's bottom. We take them through a breathing exercise while they do that. And of course, it's lubricated. There's no pain.
Really?
No pain. It feels a little odd. It's something in your bum.
Yeah.
But one of the things we're very clear of every single time we insert the speculum, whether it is a client that's had 50 colonics or it's your first time, is if you feel any sensation of pain at all, then it's a pause and we're not going any further. So that's a really important piece because there should not be any pain. Yes, a little bit of, that doesn't feel great, but not pain. And that's it. That little bit is probably the piece that most people are concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's less than 30 seconds. And you're covered with the towel. We expose only what we need to see. We pop that in safely and slow enough so that there's no pain. And then you turn over and you're laying on your back covered with the towel, and you're like that throughout the rest of the treatment.
Because you think about it, I think if anyone's... I'm kind of sitting here kind of squeezing my butt cheeks together, and I'm sure other people
everyone listening is like right down in their butthole right now.
It's like squeezing it together. I'm with you guys, I'm with you. You think about it, like I love how you explain that, because it's really, you're taking we're curious, but you're taking all the more information we have, the more we know about it. And I know it's something you do every day, but for me, even going, you lie on your side. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could probably do that. And then even when you said how you do it, it's like, and taking you through the breathing exercises, I definitely would be someone that I'm definitely that person, touch wood, that hasn't had any really, apart from breaks and stuff, I haven't had anything medical. So I know I'm the kind of person that is kind of a newbie in anything like this, but I know my personality. I hold everything in, and everyone's like, breathe. I'm like, So I just had this vision of me, if I was to experience this, and you're like, okay, breathe. I'm like, I would literally be tense, and then you'd say breathe, and that little hole would be so tight.
And I love that you've brought this up, because we're looking for signs of that in our clients. And in the case of that, we might give them a more like a different body-based movement. I might say wiggle your toes, kind of like a chiropractor does when they're about to do an adjustment on your neck. Or it could be anything really. So we are looking for those signs, and we can see that in the body language of the person that's in front of us. And keeping in mind as well that especially if you're a newbie, we have done a consultation. We've sat and chatted for 15 to 20 minutes. And while we're doing that, we're not just evaluating, whether you tick the boxes that, yes, it's okay for you to have a colonic physically. We're gauging where you're at. How nervous are you? Are you an anxious person? And our intake form alludes to those things as well. So as we go through it, we're getting an idea of who this person is and what they might need from us to make the session the best it can be.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah,
And I am breaking it down because I want this to be for anyone that's listening to this. You might be a seasoned person, that's great. And you might be like me that has absolutely no idea. So I love that we're just taking these simple steps to understand it because then we take the fear away. Once we understand
absolutely.
the process and the steps. Now, I'm sure people think, how long is the tube? Are you sticking like a 20 centimeter tube up someone's thumb? Or is it like, because every time you talk about the speculum, is that what it's called? I watch your
Speculum, yeah.
fingers and I'm like, oh, like
Oh.
how big are we talking?
So the speculum itself does look quite large, but you have to remember that has connection points for the hosing for the fresh water line and the waste to leave. So the part of the speculum that goes into the person's body, for everyone that's listening, if you hold up your thumb in front of you, like you're giving a thumbs up, and you look at the bottom of your thumb knuckle to the tip of your thumb, that's what we're talking,
Okay.
the amount that's going into the body. And that might seem like a lot for some people, and other people are going to be like, oh, that's, and I'm
If you've
talking,
got small thumbs, it's a pretty good day. But I'm looking at mine. I
okay.
have pretty chunky fingers, so I'm looking at mine going, A, that's pretty big, and B, that's
One,
long.
yeah. So look, one thing to remember is that the speculum has been made to fit perfectly into the average size rectum, and they don't differ too much. And also it is tapered. So what's happening when we insert the speculum, and I love that we're talking about this because this is everybody's biggest fear,
Yeah, it
right? Is
is.
this
Yep.
part, these few seconds at the beginning where we're popping something into their bottom. But the speculum is made, it's tapered. So essentially, once the speculum goes past the external muscle of the anus, the body will actually draw it in to wherever it stops. So there's no,
Ramming it in.
we're not ramming it in. We're not overdoing it. We're not going further than the person's body will allow.
Wow. Okay. This is a question I never thought I'd ask on a podcast. Do people have different size buttholes?
People
Not
have
really.
different buttholes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
They vary in lots of different ways, just like every single other part of our body does.
absolutely.
But I can tell you this with certainty is none of them are memorable.
That's good.
Your
You're
colonic
very polite.
hydrotherapist
That's a very
is
nice way.
literally, it's just nuts and bolts, right? So the thing that we're focused on is your comfort and safety. That's it. Anything else is,
So it's not embarrassing
it's
for you.
just not there.
You
Absolutely not.
just don't
Absolutely
care
not.
if you're looking at someone's butthole.
No, the only thing we're focused on is making sure that that speculum going into the person's body is comfortable and safe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
One
it.
question that I think
Mechanics.
of the butthole. Many people have had children, many people
Mhm.
have done CrossFit or whatever. What happens if someone's got a bit of a hemorrhoid hanging out? Like whether
Yeah.
it's external or internal, that's another thing I think of is Harry the hemorrhoid. What
Yep.
happens there?
So hemorrhoids are part of our assessment form with our client intake form. So we get an idea of if people have previously experienced them, internal, external. These are all questions that we ask. If somebody has severe internal hemorrhoids, then we're not going to be doing a colonic while those are active. And if someone has an external hemorrhoid, then we are going to avoid, excuse me, having a colonic around that time. But let's be honest, no one books a colonic if they've got a big hemorrhoid hanging out of their bottom.
Yeah.
But essentially, the answer is if they're active and inflamed, we pause, we don't do a colonic. If they're not active and inflamed, it's absolutely fine.
Okay. All right. And you have a look. Okay. And I'm guessing if someone is a female is on there, has their period, that would be a no-go too, or not?
Absolutely fine.
Oh, okay.
No problem at all. And in fact, a lot of women prefer to have a colonic while they're bleeding.
Tell,
Generally not
tell
on the
me why.
first day.
Okay.
Why? A lot of women find it a bit of a spiritual practice, a letting go
Okay.
across that time of the bleed because it is a letting go. The body is in a natural surrender, a letting go, and our bleed is a form of natural detoxification for
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, for many reasons. For some women, leading into their bleed is a better time to help reduce inflammation.
Yeah.
So it's very much a personal preference, but there's no reason, unless you have severe, heavy periods that are painful, there's no reason to not have a colonic when you're bleeding. Yeah. So personal preference.
Okay. So we're lying on the table now. We're all ready to go. What's the
Mhm.
next step that happens? If we're lying there with the towel over us, we're like, "Ugh," right, what do we get to feel first?
So the next step is we are going to gently turn on the water from the device. Nothing will be going into the body to begin with. And we are going to offer you a moment and a pause to connect in with the body. We might do a few deep breaths. We might do some abdominal massage. If you are a new client, we will feel the abdomen, make sure there's no spots where there could be any discomfort or pain. So we're going to palpate a little bit just to get a feeling of that. Um, and if I can, I'll just pause here and say this is all with permission. So each stage of the colonic, we will be asking, are you okay with abdominal massage? Would you like me to use some essential oils on your belly? So this is all with permission. There may also be times where we're using acupressure or a little bit of reflexology, again, as long as the client is comfortable with it.
Beautiful. Okay.
But essentially, we don't get into the in and out of the water flow until the person's really landed on the table. We like to give everybody a few minutes to just take that breath. You know, they've rolled over, they got something in their bum, they're a bit like, whoa.
I'm doing
So
this.
yeah, we might make a funny butt joke or a poo joke. You know, it just depends on the person on the table. Where and then from there, then we will start the very slow, gentle introduction of water. Yeah.
That was the best way to describe. I know everyone's different, but just what you hear most of the from your own personal experience and what you hear from your clients, especially the first timers, when the water first goes in, what do you notice? Do people go, "Oh, that tickles," or "I don't feel anything," or
It really does vary.
okay,
The water is generally kept at body temperature so that it's not a shocking sensation. We can alter that. There's a safe range of water temperature to use, um, but it really depends on the person and their sensitivity as well as what the water is flowing towards. If a person is very gassy or constipated, then they're going to feel that faster than if a person is not.
so what does that
Because
mean?
so as the water gently flows into the body, so you have to
Yeah,
remember that the flow is very, very low. If you imagine turning on a tap and it's getting just past the point of dripping, this is how slow the water's flowing when it's flowing into a person's body.
it's not like a hose. It's
Again,
not like a garden
there's
hose.
no gurney, there's no garden hose. um, again, there is a scale of water flow that we can safely use, and different flow will be appropriate for different people.
Sure.
Uh, but for the most part, it's very, very gentle and slow. So if you imagine as the water's flowing in, it depends what it's met with as far as resistance. So gas, poo, muscle tension,
Mm.
uh, fast breathing, all of these sorts of things are affecting the water flow. And
Yeah. Okay.
that essentially is what's guiding the treatment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what happens when it's met with constipation or wind? I'm sure that they're most of the common ones.
Mhm.
What happens? Does the water come back out the tube, or does it just is it just one flow of direction of the water coming in and out, or
So there's two tubes, a tube that the purified water is coming through,
yeah,
and that's what's going into the person's body. And then there is a waste tube as well, and they meet together at that little piece that's going into the bottom.
how cool is that? Okay, so you got one.
Very cool.
That
Yeah.
is so cool.
So essentially, when the water meets resistance, We are paying attention to the client and the hydrotherapy device to read those signals, and we release and allow the water to go the other way.
Wow. Okay. And so I'm sure there's people that have seen your videos or people that have seen a video of a tube. It looks a bit brown and murky, and then you see little what do you call it? Big line of poo or waste, and then nothing, and then big, like, and you just look at it and you go, oh my God, like when you're lying on the table, can you see your own stuff coming out or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you can actually see.
You mean the client? They can. Yes. Yeah. So they can see as the tube connects to the device. There's a viewing window, and the client can see that quite easily. The therapist can see the entire tube, or from a little bit from the end of the towel forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your 15 years of experience, do most people, I mean, I know that there's some people, when I did look on your website, there's some people that don't get a release the first time, nothing kind of comes out. That's okay too. But for some people, when they have stuff coming out, is it really good to have so much stuff coming out? Like, are you like, yes, this is amazing? Or is it good to have a little bit then nothing, then a little bit then nothing? Or
I think pretty much anything is good.
Okay.
So, and I think if we come back to the idea that it's not all about the release of poo, when we're doing colonics, we are hydrating the body, we are creating connection, we've got that mind-gut connection taking place. Those things are just as important as the release of poo.
Okay.
The release of poo is amazing, in particular if someone is trying to decrease toxicity in the body, or they are constipated, or any number of different gut health issues. But whether or not we get a release does not determine if we've had a successful colonic.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. A couple of personal questions here. So, of mine. So I think our bodies are all made to do what they need to do, like within reason. Like we've got all the tools that can detoxify itself. So a couple of questions is, when you start doing things like this, can it disrupt other things in your body? Or once you've had one, does your body lose the ability to do things naturally as well? Like, are you playing with? So before I met you, my kind of idea is, I don't know if mine's semi-okay. I'm sure if I was to have one, there'd be a lot of stuff that would come out because I've never had one, sure. But normally my gut and stuff is pretty okay. But I was on the thing, if I was to do that and play with things, what happens if it makes things worse? What happens if, my body's meant to do a certain thing? What happens if I start getting colonics and it disrupts things that has never been disrupted before? Or if I have it, does it mean I'm going to have to keep having them for the rest of my life? So that was kind of my viewpoint on that.
Yeah. Awesome questions. So I'll start with the one, if I have colonics, will I have to have them for the rest of my life? So there's no evidence to suggest that they're habit forming. What we're doing is hydrating the bowel and then allowing the natural peristaltic movement to release that water and any waste from the body. So chemical laxatives are habit forming because they override the nervous system and artificially stimulate the bowel movement. We are essentially just creating, you hear that rain?
Yeah, it's raining here too. Yeah.
We are allowing a gentle stretch and hydration from within the colon, just like when you eat and water and food is moving through your bowel, and it creates a peristaltic movement within the muscle. So we're working with the natural muscle tone, not overriding it, and therefore reliance is not created. I've been having colonics for 20 years. I don't rely on a colonic to have a bowel movement.
Okay, so your movements are pretty good. You can do one and they're good.
They're pretty good. The thing that interrupts my bowel movements more than anything else is stress.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know with the colon, it has the pockets, right? And
Yes.
food stuff can get trapped in the pockets. And I've studied nutrition back in the day. And what I found interesting was when we introduce foods like psyllium husk and chia seeds, I always describe it as like a street sweeper. So it actually
Yeah.
goes into the little pockets and does a little clean and pulls everything out. So I guess remember, I'm very basic here. So with the water with the water going through the colon, does it clean those pockets out too? Obviously, first of all, to get the big waste, but I guess if you go often or on a regular basis, does it have the ability to clean those deep pockets as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice.
And so we're clearing the waste, but we're also hydrating and allowing the water to sit comfortably and gently within the colon. So the bowel movements in the coming days for most people are more easeful, more thorough, better evacuation. So yeah, it absolutely does. It gets up into all of those nooks and crannies within the colon and essentially is like a deep clean. Some people within the industry like to refer to it as bowel hygiene, which I think is a great way to look at it.
I've never heard of that.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on our bodies being able to detoxify themselves?
Oh, they do, and they can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have wonderful detox processes. I think the biggest thing at the moment is that our total body burden is higher than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And the detox pathways that are within our bodies were not created in the environment that we currently live in, from an environmental exposure point of view, but also from a stress point of view, from an overwhelm, just overscheduled, all the overs.
Yeah.
We are in a place now where those pathways are becoming stagnant and the burden on the body is increasing.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at colonics and other detox practices as just helping the body, clearing the weeds so that we can walk the path.
Yeah.
And essentially getting out of the body's way all the things that have accumulated and no longer need to be there so that it can do all the magical things that it does as far as detox pathways and healing across every level of the body.
Yeah, because
we're not forcing anything. Yeah.
To say the mind-body connection, the gut is the second brain, and there's so many truths to that. But I think I'm astounded by how many people that I talk to, because when I talk to people in here, we don't just talk about our thoughts, I don't, our thoughts or emotions. I ask them about their cycles. I ask them about their toilet habits, and they look at me like, "Are you all right? You're my therapist." I'm like, "No," because we're talking about the whole thing. And it's interesting because I know when I've got someone in front of me and I go, "Hey, well, just tell me about how often do you," just when they talk about their gut and their bloating or how sore it is, or that's where a lot of emotions are stored in the gut. And I say to them, "Well, tell me about how often do you poo?" And they look up at the ceiling and they look around, they go, and then instantly I go, "Oh, okay." I go, when was your last? I think it was last week or 4 days ago. And they look at me and they go, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Well, we're all different, but it's kind of good to go every day." And they go, "Do you go every day?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I go 2 or 3 times a day sometimes."
Yeah,
And
girl.
oh, what?
Yeah.
But people, I'm full of shit, so that's okay. But it's interesting because our normal is our normal, and it's just giving people the permission. I think when they think of colonics, I love that. Like, it's that bowel health, it's hydrating it. These are new things that I've learned, but also I think people would have high anxiety, bloating, what about IBS? Could this possibly help with IBS as well?
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of clients who have an IBS diagnosis. And of course, with IBS, the collection of symptoms looks different for every person. but it can certainly help with symptom management and easing painful bloating. So it's, yeah, I mean, irritable bowel is a complex syndrome. But as far as symptom management goes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
How nice
Particularly
is that?
those who tend to get constipated. Yeah, and
Great.
it's,
That's great.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
we
I
listen to
love that
that.
you
Yeah.
ask people about their bowel movements as a therapist. Like, I just can't tell you how much I love that, because essentially, if anything that causes stress can potentially down regulate and harm our digestion.
Yeah.
And our digestion is a domino effect. You know, it starts at the top and it works its way down. So any of those processes can be down regulated or completely inhibited from a high stress load or anxiety, and just getting this loop that's taking place. And if the body, so stress will inhibit the body eliminating effectively, but ineffective elimination also creates stress on the body.
Yeah.
So these things need to be spoken about in relation to each other, because they are intrinsically linked. We can't, like, we just can't not talk about them at the same time. They have to be addressed, because we're a whole person, right? And I think one of the things that I really love to talk about, particularly with women, is that it's okay that we poo and that we talk about it. But the shame that's placed around people around their bowel movements isn't doing anybody any favors, you know? It's this idea that we can't sit on the loo for too long, or it might smell, or I can't do it if I'm not at home, or all of these sorts of things that have been, I guess it's conditioning to some degree. But it's a huge barrier for a lot of people, and I think particularly women, is that we need to understand what is and isn't a healthy bowel movement. We need to look in the toilet every day and actually pay attention to what's coming out of us.
Yep, I look every day.
Yeah, great. You go. I love it. It's so good. And you know, and just really get familiar with what our bodies are doing, because
Telling you something.
it's a little report card every
It is.
day telling us
and
what's going on.
You know what? Everyone's shit stinks.
Yeah, and everyone shits. You know, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah. And it's interesting too that women, So I think especially now that a lot of the younger generation that I see are going through that stage of not eating, like, you know, how it comes in waves and the whole restriction food. And then, so that I see that a lot of people saying that they don't eat and that they just don't go to the toilet, and that's kind of it breeds their normal. But also, you think about it, if you're listening to this now, I want you to think about how you manage stress. It's like food. I put food and stress in the same kind of group. So stress is when you're highly stressed, you will either have diarrhea all the time, you know, most of the time, or you will be constipated. And with stress with food, you either overeat or you stop eating. And so when you go to the bathroom, that's exactly the same. And I think now, because our diets are so inflamed and so processed, even if you're not, if dairy doesn't affect you or gluten doesn't affect you, our foods have got to the point where every single person, I can kind of say on a level, will be affected by dairy, even if you've got a strong gut, or gluten, because it's so highly processed. But back in the 1980s and previously, that's why your grandma or granddad could have the normal milk and the normal cheese and the normal bread and not shit themselves, because the makeup of that food is so normal. But I'm sure there's so many people that are listening to this, and this has happened to me, you know. I did a Reiki session with a lady a while ago, and I've documented this, but whether it's a spiritual practice or it's food-based, I've many times as a grown woman go, oh, am I going to make it to the bathroom? It's the most horrible, scariest feeling. And I know someone listening to this could probably resonate, whether they're going for a run, you know, runner's poo, or they're a sales rep in the car on the way home, or you've got the pram with the kid and you just go, it's coming. Like, you know, that release, and you may not have any intolerances. It just could be stress, but it could be, oh yeah, I had that block of cheddar cheese last night, and it's got nothing to do with, you're not broken, but it's like you said, there's so many different layers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So just being normal, like it's okay, but also there's things out there like Alicia and her business that can, I think the best thing that you can do is be the superhero for yourself, as in getting to understand who you are and how your body works. No one can ever take that away from you. If you can be the biggest advocate of, I always say to my clients, track your period, know everything about it, know how many times, look at your wee, what color is it? Does it stink? Look at your poo. And they look at me like, are you all right? And I'm like, this is all information. I didn't used to be like that in my 20s. I'm not coming from a place that, oh, I've got everything sorted. No, I'm never going to have everything sorted. That's okay. But as we get older, things change. Our bodies feel different. And sometimes you can have the whole carton of eggs or milk or whatever and be fine. And then you're like, hang on, normally I can eat that whole thing of ice cream and I'm okay. But why all of a sudden do I have a bloated stomach when I've never been bloated before? Or why am I constipated when I never have been? But there's so many of us that are on medications now. There are so many of us that through our lifestyle, stress, like you said, especially as women, we are living in a world today that our bodies aren't built for. We're not made to work full time, be a mum full time, run a house full time, keep up with the Joneses full time. Oh my God, like, and then have time for you. Our bodies are
Absolutely.
screaming, going, mate, no.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
you're made for. And I think the beauty of this, Alicia, is you're giving people permission. It's so cool that that I can ask you these. Probably people will be too afraid to ask you these questions because they're like, oh, I'm too embarrassed and it's so silly.
Yeah.
But I'm giving permission for people to ask you these questions, to be like, the gut is the second brain. And the sooner that we realize that, none of us want to go to therapy and talk about our brain. But okay, if you bypass that and all you do is heal your gut and come and see Alicia for your gut, that's good. You're gonna see a difference, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's and even just when you were talking, then the thing that kept coming up was thinking about the process of a colonic, and that it is a process of letting go. It's all of those things that you talk about, these kind of these loops that we do with, why is this making me bloated now and it's not before, and sometimes we're so stuck in the mental and the logic, that this is where I truly, truly believe the power of colonics comes into whole being health, is that you're in your body, you're feeling your body, and you have to surrender to your body to let go. Without that connection taking place, but you won't get that, what I like to call that full body release, which is a lot of what gets shared on social media. That's a process. But that's, if you think of it kind of like from an energetics or even a TCM perspective of the colon being the organ that stores, or that is responsible for letting go. We're not talking about just letting go of shit. We're talking about letting go of control, or grief, or sadness, or guilt, stubbornness, rigidity. What are we holding on to that we need to let go of? And I just think that being on that table, being in your body, is just such a powerful way to connect in and physically, emotionally just say, okay, I'm ready, let it go. It's
very powerful, because a lot of us, again, I see people from a different perspective, obviously talking about big things that have happened in their life, or small things. It all matters, but I look at them and I know where they're at. They're too afraid to, like, when we say sit in our feelings, or as a wave, you just sit there, it's going to come over you and it will pass. But people are, rightly so, too scared to open that up because they're scared it won't stop. So I think there's that fear of lying on that table. And I think when you were talking too, something came up for me is, I'm embarrassed. Like, I would be the kind of person that, is this a good one? Am I good at this? Or am I, how a lot of us women want to be people pleasers and be on the table and be like, oh, is my body good at this? Am I a good colonic person? Like, do I have heaps of stuff coming out? Am I good? So there'd be a story of that, but there'd be a story of watching the waste go. And, I just think of all the shit that I've eaten the years, all the protein powders and all the supplements and all sorts of stuff. Like, I'm not perfect. And I think, good God, what would that look like coming out in the tube? And if it was like so chunky and there's so heaps, I would be looking at you mortified going, oh my God, look how dirty I am. Like, I would be embarrassed. But then on the flip side, am I doing a good job? So it's kind of that we talked about duality before of, am I being a good client? Like, am I doing this really good? Have you never seen this before? Am I that amazing? Looking for the validation. But then at the same time, when I'm looking at it, I'll be like, wow, look how whatever words come up, everyone would all be different. Dirty, or that's we're full of shit, or oh my God, am I broken? Or is there something wrong with me? Or does any of that resonate?
Absolutely. We see all of that all the time in, varying degrees. It's interesting, the embarrassment piece, because a lot of people start out that way. And then by the end of the session, they're like, this is amazing. Show me more. This is what I'm coming for, and they start to get really interested and excited about it. But yeah, definitely that sort of, everyone's different when they're on the table, but a lot of that, am I doing this right? Or sometimes when the bodies are slow to start and release, which it should be, if we're doing a nice, gentle, slow colonic, we're not expecting, flow to come out immediately. It can sometimes not happen until the last 5 or 10 minutes of the session. But often the questions that will come up is, is my body not behaving today? Or am I being stubborn today? But it's all perfect, right? Because then we have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
And there's this self-reflection that just naturally takes place on the table for the person.
Yeah.
Because they're laying there for 45 minutes and they've got us there, and we're talking them through it. We're taking them through the entire process. But sometimes those insecurities that pop up, or that people pleasing that pops up, when you're there and you're in your body and there's nowhere else to go, you don't have any option but to reflect and face it.
Well, they can't run out of the room, can they? They have to lie there.
You can't run.
You can't be like, yeah, I want to leave now.
Yeah, which is part of the power of it. You can't override it. You can't think yourself into a good colonic. You have to be in the body and be with it, which can be quite confronting for a lot of people. But we know this, and we have lived it. All of the therapists at Vitality Flow, we get on that table often. Even when we don't feel like we need a colonic physically, we do it to remind ourselves of how it feels to receive, the vulnerability that it takes, and just to feel the effects of it, to remind ourselves so that we can anchor into what our clients are feeling. So it's not lost on us just because we see it all day, every day, and we've done it for a long, long time. We know what you're feeling, and we're there to hold that space for you, and just let you move at your own pace. There's no pushing. We're not trying to make something happen. We're not looking for a specific outcome. Whatever you need, you'll walk out of that with that day.
It's so beautiful. What's the minimum age? Can kids have it, or does it have to be over 18? What's the?
Look, we treat people over 18. I have done colonics previously on 16, 17-year-olds with their adults present.
Yeah.
Their caregivers present. As far as children go, it is possible to give a colonic to a child. However, it would be a last resort kind of thing. And generally, I won't treat a child unless it's a direct referral from a naturopath or a GP or something like that. We want to know that that all other avenues have been addressed and looked at. because as you can imagine, if it's a vulnerable experience for an adult,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
just thought I'd have that question to see if, and men and women, it's
yeah,
great.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We see
Um,
lots of men.
how
Yeah.
good is that?
Yeah, it's really great. More now than ever, like across the course of my career. Um,
Oh, go
yeah,
guys. I love
it's
that.
great. It's really, really great to see so many men being proactive with their health,
Yeah,
and stepping into that space where, yeah, you can imagine that it's quite a big step for a lot of them. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I'm just trying, is there anything else? Okay, before we wrap up, one last question is, out of all the years, what's one client, obviously just what you are able to share with us, that was the biggest shift that you've seen energetically? So obviously there's the process of the poo and the waste cleaning out, but I'd love you, what sticks in your mind? It could be as a collective, like I see most people feel XYZ, or is it one particular person that you saw them go through this journey and experience? What sticks with you when I ask you that question?
Yeah, lots of different clients kind of come out when I think about that. I have witnessed clients let go of all manners of grief, which is such a privilege, to be able to witness that. Look, the thing that sticks out most as far as emotional change for clients would be just, it's hard for me to put into words,
Mm.
but I guess it's almost a homecoming for a lot of people. There is there's this space that people will come into where they're they're coming in with the intention to let go, to work with their body, not against it. And that can look like, relationship breakups, or, letting it can look like so many different things. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one particular client, but what I see is people work through their emotional stagnation as they allow their body to let go, essentially.
Mm.
Yeah, again and again and again. And sometimes it's instant. Sometimes there will be an actual event on the table where a person speaks something and their body clicks and it goes. And that might be anything from relationships to the passing of a loved one, or anything. And you literally get to witness the actual clicking of that taking place and the releasing and the letting go. But then other times it's just a slow burn of that person coming in, and you can see their level of self-awareness, and their body awareness and their accepting of themselves. You just see that growth taking place. And that physical side of it, that letting go is a part of that process. Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for building that space on people and educating all of us on something that my mind before was like, oh, don't touch what you don't need to. Like, our bodies weren't made to have something stuck up there. So you don't really, I'm not religious or anything, but I'm like, oh, if nothing's not broken, but that was the very black and white Barbara that was 20 years ago. I've evolved and changed, but I want to celebrate that person, because that is part of me. And I know that's part of people out there that may think along the lines that I used to think, or, did think, well, that's not natural, or that's, so I wanted just to highlight, if you're thinking like that, just to have an open mind of listen to this conversation. And it's such a powerful chat we've had today, because it's reminding me how powerful this is, people can't, our body is.
Mm.
How many of us take it for granted? How many of us just don't sit here with our hand on our heart and go, I just give you shit every day. Like, I want to give you love and I want to help you and you help. Like, it's just that relationship that it's not our fault, but we just don't have with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can have it with our children, we can have it with our partner or our friends,
Mhm.
but we can't do it for ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And you show
Absolutely.
people how to do that for ourselves. I love that. So I think if anyone is feeling this gentle nudge of like, I think I want to head down to and have a colonic with you, where can they find you? Like, where's your website? What's your Instagram handle? Where are
Yeah.
you in Wollongong so people can find you?
So we are located in Corrimal on the Princes Highway, and people can find us at Vitality Flow Colonics. So the website and the Instagram handle and the Facebook are all just the business name, Vitality Flow Colonics. So they will find me there. One thing that I would say is if you are feeling the nudge and maybe you're unsure, pick up the phone and give me a call. Let's chat for as long as you need. Hit
Yeah.
me with your questions. You know, you're just a voice on the other end of the phone. I'm so happy to talk to people about what their personal concerns might be, and also if this may or may not be appropriate for them. Because I guess that's one important thing to just mention now as well, is that colonics aren't right for everybody. If people
Yeah.
go to the website, they will find a full list of contraindications. So, and you know, and we will go through all of that with the person and assess them, not just from a physical level, but also from an emotional point of view of where they're at and whether or not this is the right thing for them to do at the time.
Mm.
So, you know, don't be shy. Give us a call. I'm so, so happy to talk to people about this. Yeah, and just show people how they can use this as a beautiful tool for self-love and appreciation and care for our bodies and our minds. Yeah.
How good is that? How good is it learning about something that you think it's one thing, and then when you start talking to someone about it, you think, oh, wow. And I think it's the letting go. I think that's the most common thing I want people to take home today listening to this is we can't let go. We're so wound up. I am
Mhm.
too, like, and I'm a pretty chill person, but I think if you sit here internally, all of us have that humming. All of us have that buzzing of gotta do this, whatever that looks like. Whether it's just anxiety or it's other things, we have that internal buzzing. We can't
Absolutely.
stop, we can't slow down. A lot of people can't sit still for 2 seconds.
Mhm.
So it's so much more, isn't it, than just the poop coming out or the
Yeah.
colonics of getting your bum washed or whatever people, think this is.
Yeah.
How cool is it that yeah, but I do want to highlight that it is, even me thinking about it, I'm sitting here with my hands on my legs, rubbing my legs, going, oh, I don't know. I'll think about it. I don't know if I can, but if I do, I'll report back. I'm on the fence. I
I would love to have you.
I don't know if I want you to see my bum hole.
Remember though, it won't be memorable. It's okay. It's just, to
But
me, it's just
but but mine is memorable.
of course it is, of course. Of
That's a
course.
typical Leo thing, right? Yeah, but
Oh
mine's
yeah,
mine's
absolutely.
mine's special.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Uh-huh.
I'll always bring Kira into
Oh,
it. But no, in all seriousness, it has been such a pleasure to have you on here because, again, I'm such a big believer that what I do is just part of the picture. But if we all build this community together of everyone helping each other, we all want the same outcome. But we need help. Isn't it interesting? We live in a world where we need, and I need assistance too, that will never end, but we need help from other people to show us how to take care of ourselves.
mm, yeah,
Because we're not born for this world. We don't know how to take care of ourselves, and your body is always trying to tell us something. And by doing
absolutely.
something like this, it can open up the communication. It's not trying to hurt you or harm you, even though how many negative things do we say it? How many times do we say really mean things to ourselves? And
Mhm.
this could be the start of
Absolutely.
someone coming to see you. Maybe you don't want to come and see me and talk about things. Maybe you're not ready. That's okay. But look, there's another way of being able to, our organs and our pieces in our body store emotions. So I
Yes.
work a lot with that with clients. I work a lot with energetics and talk to them about they tell me if they've got something that's sore and I'm like, oh, do you know your kidney's doing this? And they go, how do you know? And it's like
Mm,
because all of our body parts store emotions and it means something. And if you don't want to talk to someone, one of the things you can do is come and see you and
yeah, and
not say anything and let that work through that process.
absolutely let the body let go of what it doesn't need, and from there it can send gentle whispers to the rest of the body to let it know that there's space now. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's okay to feel scared or embarrassed and all those things because I've opened that chapter for all of you guys today to say I'm feeling exactly the same way. I feel it just
Yeah.
makes my skin crawl a little bit. I just think, oh God, I can do most things in life. I'm pretty brave, but that would have to be a different level of brave. But I'm going to say 50, I'm 50-50. Before I was 100% no, never. I don't need that. But now I'm like, I'm good. As everything I've learned in my life, Barbara, you need to pause, as you've talked a lot
Mhm.
about pausing, and you just need to be open.
Yeah,
There's a reason why you and I are having this chat today. Yes, it's because
absolutely.
you're on my podcast, but also personally, there's something I need to hear here. And
Mhm.
maybe I don't want to hear it. Maybe that's the resistance. That's why I'm like, my butthole's still like tight. My bum cheeks, my bum's very tight because I always clench. That's where a lot of people hold their stress. You think about it
Absolutely.
if you're walking, I want you to think about for the rest of the day today when you're listening to this, check in with your bum. I know that sounds weird, but a lot of us hold somatic stress, a lot of us hold stress in our cheeks. So
Mhm.
I naturally have tight bum cheeks. We're not talking about but because I hold a lot of tightness in my glutes, because that's one of your biggest muscles in your, So in all
Mhm.
seriousness, it's funny, but it's serious at the same time as when we're walking, we're doing something. I want people, if you're driving or doing something, I reckon you'll go, oh my God, I'm actually clenching my butt cheeks
My
together.
butt cheeks.
People,
Yeah.
yeah, people probably
Yeah.
won't realize it's gone
And
from
just all
some,
through the abdomen, like
yeah,
the tension that we're holding around our center. It's incredible. All the time, that just sucking it in, sucking it up, all of these things that we say, the physical representation of that is that tightness through the abdomen and yeah, around the butt. And if you're not ready to come in for a colonic yet, because we'll get you there, but you know, spend some time in the abdomen. Spend some time massaging your colon with your
yeah,
hands. Connect to it. Be with it, 2 to 3 minutes a day.
yeah,
Powerful, powerful practice. There are so many ways to connect in with that part of our body, and it's so, so important that we don't ignore it.
yeah. We don't
Um,
touch ourselves. And I mean that, everyone can giggle, but we don't. Like I've been learning some lymphatic massage and just some
yeah.
self lymphatic. And it's so cool because you touch your arms and your legs, maybe if you put moisturizer on or deodorant or whatever. But how often, especially us females, are very sensitive and ticklish, and that's sometimes when we hold our weight. So that's like, oh, my tummy, don't touch my tummy, or
Yeah.
and then but we don't even touch our tummies ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 The abdominal massage that we give at Vitality Flow is a huge piece of the healing puzzle. Huge. Yeah.
Because it's, yeah, you're touching a place where people yeah, I went for my first lymphatic massage last year or the year before. I don't know, time goes so fast, and no one had ever touched no other person had ever touched my stomach, and she was a really lovely lady, and she was like, oh, we'll just take our time. And I went, no, no, I have to get out of my comfort zone. And once I realized that she's not judging me and it's okay and it's a safe place, I was still wincing a little bit, but that was definitely interesting. It was
Mhm.
such an interesting thing to experience. So you can
Yeah.
take baby steps and
Absolutely.
you go to someone like you that does it. Hey, checking in, are you okay? Are you okay? We don't have to do wham bam, thank you, ma'am. We need to be slow,
Yeah.
and that's what you offer. And it's so, I just love, makes sense why you have your own business. This is just so natural for you. And it's so beautiful that you've got all this experience. Like I would feel safe coming to you because I know that you've got all this experience.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
so much
having
for
this
having me.
chat.
It was so fun.
I love how she's like, oh, we'll get you in. We'll stay posted, guys. It's not gonna happen.
We won't record it.
It's not going to happen, no, but it might. All right. Well, until next time, I'll see you guys soon, but thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope this conversation has added value to your self-care journey and inspired positive changes in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing it with a friend who might benefit from this episode. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or on your favourite podcast platform to stay up to date on future episodes. Your support means the world to me. I genuinely love hearing from you, so please take a moment to leave a review. Let me know which part of today's episode resonated with you the most. Your feedback guides the direction of this podcast, and I really appreciate each and every single one of you for being a part of this community. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, Studio Chat Podcast, or if you want to find out a bit more about my counselling private practice, head over to Instagram on self_care_studio. I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep embracing the journey of self-discovery.